Right, we will now link up with Shomomo Imodu and TVC Adeoye in our Abuja studio for the conversation around the coalition of persons looking to wrest power from the current APC administration in 2027. Good morning, TVC. Good morning, Shomomo. How are you guys doing today?
Good morning, Veronica. It's good to see you again.
Thank you. It's good to be back. All right, you can take away the conversation.
The topic and everything are intact.
Of course.
Okay.
All right,
okay, let's
go ahead. Yes.
Now, thanks for joining us on this segment of the program from Abuja. Now, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, alongside other key political figures, have announced the formation of a new opposition coalition aimed at unseating President Bola Tinubu in the 2027 general election. The announcement was made in Abuja, where Mr. Atiku was flanked by former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, Labour Party spokesperson Yunus Atanko, and former Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Emeka Ehediah. The opposition leader strongly condemned President Tinubu's recent declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State, which led to the suspension of elected officials, including Governor Sim Fubara and Deputy Governor Ngozi Udu. Atiku Abubakar described the action as unconstitutional and an overreach of presidential powers, calling on Nigerians to reject it.
Atiku Abubakar accused President Tinubu of failing to follow due process, arguing that the Nigerian constitution does not empower the president to remove a sitting governor. Atiku accused the federal government of using the crisis in Rivers State as a pretext for political control. In his words, rather than allowing the law to take its course, the federal government has engineered a crisis to justify this obvious, premeditated and brazenly cynical, unconstitutional action. Atiku also referenced past administrations that declared emergency rule in conflict-ridden areas without removing governors, arguing that Tinubu's decision represents a new low for the country. And for more exhaustive conversation on the subject matter, we are being joined by Jean Monette, Professor of Strategy and Development at the Commonwealth Institute of Advanced Professional Studies, Antoli Kila. It's good to have you on the program, Professor. All right, and also joining us on the program live in the studio is the convener of the alternative, Segun Showumi. Thank you for joining us again on the program.
Nice to see you both.
It's good to see you too. Well, let's start the conversation. And this political coalition is generating a lot of interest, but most people do not trust the process, including the people that make up this coalition. How can the trust deficit be addressed? And also, will you blame Nigerians for expressing doubts?
I think that if you have looked at our country over the years and you've had the benefit of following the headlines for close to 20, 30 years, you'll find out that we have to accept that we're generally very cynical. We're very critical people. If you gather the headlines of all the countries in the world and gather that of Nigeria, you will know that no, we like to criticize our leaders. In fact, we like to criticize everything. So that can explain the cynicism. But I'll tell you very strictly, for us to be in a democracy, it has to be the idea and the thinking of both the citizens and the politicians that democracy survives on an idea that at least there's an alternative viewpoint, mostly encapsulated by opposition. I have always said, opposition does not mean you are angry, you are vengeful. It just means that the robustness of decision, even for the one in power, requires the flip side of ideas. In that regard, the first thing I need to say is that there is nobody in Nigeria in the last 27 years that has demonstrated that indeed he is a material in opposition than Atiku Abubakar. When Obasanjo was in government, notwithstanding the fact that he was a part of that government, he opposed when he felt certain things needed to be opposed. When he joined the APC to form their government, in less than a year, he opposed when he felt this is the right thing to do. Now again, notwithstanding the great pain and cost on his own personal expectation of probably not winning election or getting rigged out of the election, Nigeria is again at another crossroad. He's providing leadership for opposition and he's opposing the things that opposition should oppose. I am not by this comment saying that he is infallible. I don't do that type of nonsense. But I am saying that you must give him the honor and the flowers of being the man in the arena who falls down, stands up, falls down, stands up, probably just trying to nudge society in the right direction. Will this thing work? Which is what is causing the cynicism you're talking about. The question that then needs to be flipped is, what alternative do we have if it appears as if the ruling party, especially under President Tinubu, is acting in a manner that gives every decent citizen this scary proposition that do we have a civilian dictatorship at play, and are all the other levers in society actively collaborating with same? People would have been a little bit, okay, look guys, don't start disturbing us, if we had had a fairly robust, independent, and more engaging National Assembly. But if the National Assembly seems to be such a bunch of dancing poodles, you know what a poodle is? A poodle is a small dog that rich people carry about that wags his tail. It doesn't bark, it doesn't scream, it doesn't scratch, it doesn't pull the president back. So we're in a situation where right now, the organized political parties, and now I'm a proud PDP man, Labour, NNPP, all seem to be having some kind of internal issues that they are struggling with. Okay. There's a lot of rumor that, oh, maybe, I don't agree, but people believe that maybe there is a big hand somewhere manipulating. So under these circumstances, whatever you see opposition try to do, remember that however you may have an opinion or whether for or against, remember that without that effort, you will be in a civilian dictatorship, and citizens of Nigeria can handle that. Okay,
Mr. Shagun, let's look at it this way. Let's go a bit historical. I think one reason why a lot of Nigerians are expressing a lot of doubt about this coalition is
they are just
in 1979, for instance,
okay,
you had that alliance between the defunct NPN that won the presidential election and the NPP, and just because they
it didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't work. Okay. In 1983 also, the progressive parties came together, UP and all the rest. It didn't work. Now, the reasons it didn't work was that the first one, it was a power sharing problem, how to share power.
Yes.
The second one was internal conflict.
Yes.
Now, all these two ingredients
didn't work. Yes.
Are very visible in the PDP, in the Labour Party. So, it might just be a coalition move that will not work.
Okay, wait. The fact that it didn't work in 99 and it didn't work in 1980, it worked in 2015. Without that extra effort of a coalition, my beloved PDP would have been leading past 16 years. And when we lost, I said, democracy does not say that one party wins all the time. So we don't need to be too angry. Anyway, those who put out that coalition at that time, even if you don't like them now, you have to respect the fact that by their singular effort, you now have sort of two pan-Nigerian party. Before then, the PDP could boastfully say, we are the only pan-Nigerian party with structures all over. But if we said that now, we'd just be lying, because our rivals, the APC too, are now pan-Nigerians, they have structure all over. Okay, maybe people are saying, oh, when the people are poor, the people are angry, the government is this, the price of food, inflation, and all of the everyday issues that Nigerians complain about. And we're also seeing that for some reason or the other, the political parties themselves, the big parties, my party inclusive, they're not reforming quickly. And we're going to be stuck with the need to go to an election in 2027 anyway. So don't be in a hurry. Whether it will work or it wouldn't work, doing nothing can never be a strategy. The fact that they are even gathering to talk, and there's a lot of argument for and against, how do we go about it? People are never, that people are even interested in the conversation already means it is working. Now, what would then be the issues that we have to contend with? I think for me, there are 3 big issues, and I'm clear about that. Issue number 1, who will lead? Who will be that person that has to go and challenge President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? What are the criteria for us to look out for? I can roll it out, but that's not what we're here for. The second issue on the table is, what platform would they coalesce into? I prefer that they coalesce into the PDP because of its significant grassroots reach. There is no part of this country you say, PDP, somebody will answer you in the minimum power to the people.
I'd like you to
now,
hold
the
your
third point,
thoughts. I'd like you to hold your thoughts. We have to go on a commercial break now. We'll come back.
All right, you have to pay your bills. You have to pay your bills.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back. We're glad to have you back. If you're just joining us, you're still watching TVC Breakfast, and we're live in our Abuja studio. We're talking about the coalitions of political party ahead of the 2027 general election, and we have here in the studio the convener of the Alternative, Segun Showumi, and we also have joining us now a Professor Jean Monette, Professor of Strategy and Development, Professor Anthony Killer. But we would like to continue with you.
The third thing that I feel that I've been kind of like thinking is, okay, Segun, how do you help them to manage their own individual ambitions? For by their ambition individually, if they were to just tomorrow morning agree that reading the mood of the country, looking at what's going on, looking at our national diversity, cohesion and all of that, competence on the job, and who is best able to share power, they will be able to pick somebody. Then we have to now figure out what are we going to do with the other. Once those 3 things are ticked, I can guarantee you they will win.
All right, we'll come back to you, but let's talk to you, Professor. If you can hear me, do you expect this new coalition to make any significant impact, particularly with the entry of Nasir El-Rufai and Major Hamzat Al-Mustafa?
Well, I think, my premise is that every Democrat will realize that it is important to have a strong and vibrant opposition. Whether you vote for them or not, if you're a Democrat and you're a citizen who wants the best for your country, you would want a vibrant opposition because they offer alternative views and they save us from a kind of self-indulgence that absolute power might bring. I won't even go to absolute power corrupt, but just a kind of impunity, self-indulgence that absolute power might bring. So to that extent, they must try to succeed. It's their duty to succeed, and it is our duty to watch them. As citizens, we must see if the people who are vying to lead the opposition have something alternative and viable to offer. But I'm too old to play around with the idea of are they in for their ambition. Let me tell you, viewers, every politician is in there for his or her ambition. It's like saying footballers, would they play football? Yes, they're going to play football because they're footballers. They're going to be ambitious because they're politicians, they want power. The difference between politicians is how do they get to power and what do they do with power? So if they succeed or not, we shall wait and see. What we need to see is how are they starting? Their immediate start now is not out of their own effort. It is a gift that has come from the presidency that has given them a platform to come out to speak like a united front. But, let's see how they move on that.
Okay, Prof. Prof, if those who are trying to coalesce into, whether it's a mega party or whatever, are having internal crisis in their present parties and they've not been able to resolve that, won't it be something very difficult that you left problems unsolved and you're going into a coalition to help address a problem in the nation? Are we not placing things in the wrong way?
No, we're not blazing it, but you're right. You're right to say if they have issues of their own, how can we trust the nation to them, or how can we hope they can genuinely come together? But you know, this is 2025. I was going to say 26. It's actually 2025. They have more than a few months to sort out their issues. It is very possible that when they get together, they lose a bit of themselves to gain a new form. But it's very possible that their ego, their self-interest, and their inability to play politics will ruin them. You know, it's one of the two. We have to wait and see. As somebody who was very active in the formation of the APC a few years ago, or close to a decade ago, one realizes that you have to believe. You have to go on there. You have to work hard to make it happen. And a bit of luck, a bit of blunder from the other side might help. But if the people coming together are so consumed by their own self-interest and all they do is to navel gaze, then there will be no future there. And it's a good test. So at the moment, for example, a lot of people are listing likely or interested presidential aspirants that want to be candidates. One of the first tests we're going to see is the ability of some of them to say, for the interest of the coalition, I am not going to run for president. That is the first, test to see if this is a true coalition or just a special purpose vehicle made to grab power. The other thing I want to see personally as a citizen and as a student of politics is to see if these people coming together are actually offering a different kind of path, different set of policies, or all they are interested in is to just dislodge the person there to continue the same way. We need to look at that as well.
All right, we'll come back to you, Professor Killer, but we'll come back. Let's talk to you, Mr. Shomi. Is it a fact that there's no single political party that can single-handedly take over power from the APC without forming a coalition?
PDP can.
Okay.
PDP can take over power from the APC, and please hear me out. The last election, PDP had 13 governors. Of those 13 governors, 5 of them, for the politics of that day, did not support the party. So if you add the 5 to whatever number of governors the APC had, you know what numbers you will get. Notwithstanding that, they got 8-point-something million votes, and PDP got 6.9 million votes, plus all of the, or let me say, were allocated. So you can almost tell that, imagine, this is where my own advocacy is and why I'm calling for the alternative. Imagine if we just understood or accepted the idea that you must build political parties to last, and that crises or challenges in political parties are still conversation within people, and that none of you is all good and righteous, and none of you is all bad and satanic. You begin to create the big pathway for them to come a little bit closer. Okay, if we are now still alive, we have just exited the Supreme Court, which has given us stupendous powers. The Supreme Court has settled the issues for us that, look, you own the right to organize your party. Lower courts and courts should not really jump into such issue. They have helped us to settle the issue of the fact that for now, our National Secretary is Samuel Anyanwu Sandadi. It's not because of the name of the person, but it's just because the finality of that matter has saved us from a bullet. You know what that bullet is? The bullet would have been, imagine we were in that court. We did not settle the issue fast. Then we did our primaries. Then one guy was signing it, claiming to be the secretary, or the other guy was signing it, and then we got back from the Supreme Court when it was too late, and the Supreme Court says, you are wrong. Anyanwu is your secretary, and we have signed everything. What would have happened? Fait accompli, no candidate. So, to that extent, I'm happy. The court has also said, you have your powers now. Sort yourself out, determine the structure. 17, 18 max, 25 people in the NWC, and whatever issues they're having among themselves, cannot replace the groundswell in the rural areas. I am not just a television, social media politician. I am a politician. Tested, trusted, reliable, dirtied by standing in the field. Every genre of the game, including spokesperson, including what they call them, a hype man, I've done it. Including I've been the director general of the campaign of a presidential campaign in Ogun. I will won under my watch. So I know what I'm talking about. The PDP can do it. What the PDP cannot do is that the PDP cannot promise anybody that won't do primaries. So if people are running away from the PDP because they don't want to do primaries, we can't help them with that. But if they now say, okay, all things considered for the benefit of the country, we want to take another platform. My attitude to it is caution. Caution, because you people who want to take another platform, you have not demonstrated to people like me and to a lot of Nigerians that you have the stability of character to nurture parties.
Okay.
If you tell me, okay, the ideological underpinnings of PDP is too weak, let's dump it and go to another one, I will only pray that whatever be the outcome, we should nurture it. When you go for an election, I always tell my people at home, and people in Abuja that can bear me out, I always say to them, our duty is to present ourselves and our ideas, to explain and to educate and to make sure that our ideas are profound. That's where our duty ends. It is the right and the duty of the citizens to take our ideas, give us the opportunity, or make their choices. They will have to live with the consequences of the choices they make. We cannot, as politicians or a political party, be so angry that the citizens are not enlightened enough to know what is in their best interest, one, or that the system is so rogue, all of us don't have integrity, we don't have faith in the integrity of the process. So right now, one of the things we need to be doing is demanding that the electoral process in the country, INEC and the judiciary, because they all form part of the electoral process, must clean up.
Okay, Mr. Shegun, we'll come back to you. Professor Kila, you there with us? Okay, yes. Our guest here just talked about the PDP is capable of running against the APC in 2027, even without the coalition. But my question is, the same PDP in 2015 is quite different. In the last election, 2023 election, it's different from the PDP now. Because so much internal crisis in the PDP now that a lot of people even say that they seem not to even have a voice in sorting out their own personal problem. Then if you go to Labour Party also, Peter Obi, that is probably leading the coalition of the Labour Party, seem not to be in control of the Labour Party. So these are visible problems these two critical parties have. And so where do we go to have a viable opposition?
Well, I think we must start from the fact that in Nigeria, because politicians are not really binded by strong ideologies, it is sadly physiological for them to be chaotic and divisive before they get into power. That is the history of Nigerian politics. But there's also a point that people tend to miss. Whilst PDP appears to be an homogeneous national party, the reality is that students of Nigerian politics will tell you that the PDP was the first coalition in this republic. They have a name called PDP, but the truth is that inside the PDP, you have geopolitical coalitions, you have interest group coalition. I dare say you have a bloc like the military bloc, at least you had in 1999. There are different blocs that form the PDP. So in a way, those in the PDP are used to managing coalitions, is not to say. But moving forward, what we need to look at are two things. As citizens, we'll be looking at their policies and what they intend to offer the country. As politicians, they will be looking at their capability to persuade each other to sacrifice for the bigger goal. So there are two sets of politicians. There are people who just campaign and go for power. Then amongst them, there are what I call the thinkers who sit together and say, what do we need to win? Normally, what you need to put forward in opposition is a viable set of program, a viable vessel, i.e. the party, and a viable figure that will represent all that. You tend to form a coalition thinking the person that we should put forward, either as president or governor, should be the one that has the best chance of winning. Then we will then coalesce around that person. The test for opposition is the ability to do that. If they cannot do that, then they have an issue. If they bring forward people who are jaded, who are already tarnished, and bring no real value, then they're in trouble. But if they're able to bring together ideas and people that can marshal forces together, then they stand a chance. I do not share the optimism of Sheikh Showme about the strength of the PDP at the common level. I mean, everything is possible, and he's an insider. He probably knows more than me. But from the outside, the PDP seems jaded, divisive, and infiltrated, and they don't trust each other. And there are too many issues that, quite frankly, if you are not passionate about it, if you are not visually dedicated to it, you wouldn't want to spend time on it, quite frankly.
All right, we'll come back to you, Professor Killer. Well, I would like to ask you.
Killer is wrong.
Okay.
They have created themselves into a gang of so-called activists who don't see the facts as they are. How, if you look at the country, PDP is not in power at the national, but we have governors at subnational levels. There is not a single governor of PDP, I challenge you, that is not delivering on the type of thing that can make you proud of them. Is it the guy in Akwa Ibom? Is it the man in Enugu? That man in Enugu is a genius. Is it the guy in Oyo, Seyi Makinde, and what he's doing there? Is it even the guy in Zamfara? Is it the one in Adamawa, where you will go there and see that there's a massive transformation of the place in terms of infrastructure? Show me one that is not doing well. Even the one in Oshun, yes, he dances, but I have visited there many times. He has succeeded in creating a movement in Oshun for the first time that unites the people. Never mind the activities of those who are trying to take power. It's their right to do. But the point is that if they are good at that level, then you have to then say, there is a culture in the PDP. The first is that we were the ones that gave out the first universal basic education system in this country, still working. We were the ones that gave universal health. Every ward has it. We still working. We were the ones that kept the currency of this country at 200 naira to 1, still working. Why? Because when you devalue the currency like our rivals have done, you actually devalue everybody into poverty. We were the ones that ensured that there was a strategic grain reserve in this country to manage it. So what I'm saying is that
PDP of yesterday is different from the PDP of today.
You miss the point. No, you miss the point. You expect that the political party that is alive and vegetating, are you going to dare compare it to our rivals that you don't even think they exist as a party? Do you think Nasir El-Rufai is that kind of lily-livered guy that will just come and say they have lost their ideology and start jumping out? The fact that they are not talking, maybe because they are cowed, they are scared, or they are over-influenced, or they are bribed, does not mean that we politicians don't hear from our friends on their side. We are the only political party in Nigeria that has been around sticking with his ideology, maintaining his name, representing his symbol. In an election, you don't build a political party, contrary to what Killer is saying, around an individual. There is an excessive imagination of a messiah that does not exist anywhere. Killer and Co. were the ones that tried to messiah Nigeria around Buhari. They're the ones complaining the most. They were the ones that tried to messiah around Bola Tinubu. They're the ones complaining the most. They were the ones that tried to messiah around Peter Obi. All you need to do is try to listen to him consistently. And you're going to wonder that what's going on here. So I said to him very pointedly, never mind the dangerous misnarrative. Watch the PDP. Okay. We will produce a candidate. We will campaign for him. We will run very hard and we'll leave the electorate to take their decision. But whatever decision the electorate take, they will have to live with it.
All right, Mr. Showme, you were at the initial meeting.
Yes, I'm always at the meeting.
And Hamzat Al-Mustafa visited the SDP secretariat to hold talks with the party chairman. We have seen the two men move to the SDP, and there are indications that you will also move.
Me? You joke too much. If, look, on earth, I am more interested in stability. If I'm not doing PDP, I'm going to be doing APC. Clear. Reason being, at least I can say whatever you say about him in government. At least I tried Bola Tinubu and somebody like Muhammadu Buhari They had the courage or conviction of staying with their ideology over the years, even when they were losing. I'm not going to join a bunch of people who, every time they lose, they need another platform. And I don't trust the fact that when they even get to that other platform, they may still come short. With all of our best intention, Awolowo did not win a presidential election in this country. Did that deprive him from being a progressive? Did he get up the next day in the morning and say he's going to join MPN? People must understand, for us to be able to build sustainable development, even for the economy, you need sustainable ideologies of political party. The Democratic Party in America is 190-something years old. The Communist Party in China is 104 years old. What's wrong with this man? You need to build to last.
Mr. Showme, my worry is you just talked about people need to stay with their convictions and you don't believe in moving around. You talked about El Rufai. And he's one of the key leaders, promoters of the coalition.
With due respect, Nasiru is the bravest of them all.
People say only complaints when
forget about that.
His bread is not butter.
What people say is irrelevant. He is the bravest of them all. At least he had the capacity to say, okay, I'm not being treated well. When the shoe was on the other leg, and people perceived that President Tinubu was not being treated well by the Buhari government, at least Nasiru had the discipline and the sense to go to the then president to say, no, we can't treat him like this. And I can tell you because I'm an insider and I know, the then President Muhammadu Buhari then dispatched the Vice President of Shibaju and Nasiru to go and plead with President Bola Tinubu in London, who has pleaded with Nasiru. And if he says he's out, he has gone through the process of saying, I'll check with this, I'll check with this, I'll check with this. And he has said, I am out. That is his right.
All right. Professor Kila, would you like to respond to Mr. Showme before I ask you my next question?
Well, I mean, go ahead, I can wrap it. I think Chief Showme did not hear me well. There must be an audio problem because there was no argument between me and I. I don't know why I think to rule out. What I said is a very simple thing, that a viable opposition party needs to have a set of policy, they need to have a viable vessel, and they need to have a viable figure to present.
We will have that.
So those three elements are universal and fundamental. I do not know, I do not see any point of argument on that at all. But go ahead with your question.
All right. Most of the momentum generated ahead of the election no longer translates to an impressive turnout of registered voters. Help us connect the dots as to why the numbers of voters has been on a steady decline.
Thank you for that question.
Well, it is apathy. I mean, why would you go dancing where the music is bad? Why would you go to a restaurant where the food is not good? If the essence of voting is defeated by the delivery of governance and the process is not trusted by the citizens, there's no reason for them to go. I mean, and I must say this, I have an unpopular view. Actually, contrary to most people, I am not one of...
Prof, are you there? We seem to have lost that connection.
Okay, come here. Now, why are people not coming out?
Yeah.
That's why I created the alternative. I sat back and I looked at the numbers. 4 things bothered me. 1, why are they always unhappy with the people they've elected? They're not happy with Bola Tinubu, but they elected him. Why they weren't happy with Buhari. They didn't seem to be happy with Jonathan. Why is this? Why are they not even turning out? Have the people forgotten that the only fundamental right that they have is to choose their leader on election day? Why are they not even turning up? Okay, why is the conversation of leadership in the country beginning to assume tribal dimension? Why must everything Bola Tinubu do be wrong because you are not a Yoruba man? Why must everything he does be right because you're a Yoruba man? Why is the conversation, the ganging up even now is beginning to look like some people are sitting in the north and assuming that just because they are northerners, that has given them the right to say, oh, without even letting us into their own policy. These were the things that were bothering me. And you know what? Just like Nasiru, I had the presence of mind and the courage to go to the people and say, let's start this dialogue again. Let's beg them. Don't give up. Nations take time to build. Some of the fancy nations we love too, it took them time to build. What do you want? What kind of leaders are you looking for? If we bring you leaders and you're not happy, why not tell us the leaders you want? Let's listen to you. Let's be partners. Can't you even begin to see yourself like a leader, maybe as a counselor? These are the kinds of things that sensible leaders do, not come and say the idea of their intellectual is to keep saying that every time an election is coming around the circle, the strategy must be start a new party. The strategy must be say you are coalizing. The strategy must be angry and be bitter and be doing vengeance. The strategy must be don't look at the policy of even your rival. Accept the one that you think is right and say, okay, the one that you think is wrong, be firm on it. Why would anybody that is a leader in the country expect that any president worth his salt will allow that chaos going on in Rivers to continue without some kind of hammer? And if he restrained himself until the Supreme Court gave him the leeway, okay, I don't accept that 305 should not be tested in the court. But up till today, that 305 is so flexible because it doesn't want to hem in the president and prevent him from being able to take decision. The presidency and democracy is not a weak system. It is only the men who don't have strength of character and who don't have enough intellect that think that the anger of the mob is the basis by which leaders take decisions. That's not correct. And that's the kind of alternative that I have. So I'm very sure Nigerians, keep faith with your beloved PDP. Crises and all of the things you see are the attitude of our people. We will continue to beg them for evolution and revolution. If not so, why is the crisis in NNPP? Didn't they just start it yesterday? Why is the crisis in Labour? Didn't Peter just run there now? And all of them, they are our children. We are the University of Politics in Nigeria. When you graduate, you cannot destroy your alma mater.
Well, it's interesting, the confidence that you're displaying. But let's hear from Professor Killer. Just finish up before we let you go.
I'm actually going to use my minute to ask Chief Shegun Showemi a question publicly. My understanding is that he believes that a coalition is not needed and the PDP is a viable option. Let me ask him to explain to us, like a little child, why he did not call his platform PDP Revamp or PDP. Why he gave it another name? Why did he not use the brand PDP?
I'll answer you.
Just educate the public on that.
I'll answer you. The reason why I called it the alternative is that I didn't want people that are not in PDP not to also be willing to engage in the conversation. Because we're talking about the electric.
Because the PDP is not talking.
No, with due respect, please. You have to let me answer. The PDP is not the only person on election day. We're looking at why are people not coming out. We're looking at why are they selling and buying their vote. With due respect, we are looking at why are they selling and buying their vote. We're looking at why the conversation is so tribal. We're looking at what type of leaders do like. The only way to have that conversation, Mister, is to make it slightly open for other people to consider the conversation.
All right, gentlemen.
Killer does not belong to political parties. Killer, go back to the university. You don't belong to politics.
Well, we must thank you so much for your time with us on the program. Shegun Showemi, it was nice talking to you. And Professor Anthony Killer, thank you so much for your time with us.